Hey everyone, welcome back to Stonehearth Desktop Tuesday. This week we continue with our deep dive into the conversation system as part 2 of a series that illustrates how Stonehearth feature gets from concept into the game. Stonehearth is a game about a small group of people optimizing their environment in order to thrive. So the primary goal of the conversation feature is to commemorate your achievements from your Hearthling's point of view. As Hearthlings gain and share opinions about things, this should also help them develop as individuals. Last week, we explored how designer Richard kicked off the conversation feature with a design doc he wrote and iterated over with the rest of the team. The next step was for engineers Linda and Justin to take that doc and figure out how to turn it into working code. But a deep dive into that works better as a way to show off how all the pieces came together. So instead, this week, let's talk about how artist Malley took Richard's design doc and created a sequence of animations to bring the conversations to life. Richard specified that conversations should be built from a sequence of 10 nodes that could be recombined for infinite variation. Each part of the sequence should have at least 3 animations, so each conversation would look unique. That's 30 animations total, only 8 or so which had been previously created in earlier alphas. Malley has been quite busy. Let's take a closer look. The first node is initiation, which must show 2 people acknowledging and then approaching each other. For this, we already had waving and whistling, but we also added an emote shout, since people often start conversations from quite far away. Whistling is an animation we reused from the Shepherd. Creating animations that are adorable but can be used in multiple situations was one of Malley's first goals on arriving on Team Stonehearth, and one of the best ways of saving time while developing a feature. The next conversation node is called Subject, and it's the one where the first Hearthling introduces a topic to the second Hearthling. This is the part of the conversation where you'd expect a normal talking animation, gesturing with the hands, asking a question. Later, when the feature is complete, subject bubbles should appear here for full effect. After the conversation comes a reaction from the second Hearthling, in which they respond to the topic introduced in the subject with a question, or an expletive like anger or surprise, or disinterest. This is also where the second Hearthling has a chance to have their emotion about the subject influenced by the first Hearthling's emotion. So for example, if the first Hearthling is terribly afraid of goblins, the second Hearthling might also gain a fear of goblins from this conversation. The person who introduces the subject then gets to react, and there's always an emotion associated with the response. Here are some happy responses. And here are some neutral ones. And here are some negative ones. The negative ones range from a simple no to an exclamation of belief to, well, outright tears. These animations were some of the most entertaining to make. In most cases, Malley says that he picks an animation to express an emotion by trying to imagine how he'd act in that situation, and then exaggerating it in his mind, because these animations have to be able to read even when the camera is very far away. Then he or a teammate acts out the animation in front of the camera. Malley then watches it over and over in slow motion until he can bring it across into Maya. Finally, there's a conclusion, which is either happy or sad. If both Hearthlings agree about the subject introduced in the conversation, whether they're both happy about it or both sad about it, they get a happy thought. If the Hearthlings find they've disagreed, they may get a sad thought. Some conversations also end neutrally. Emote Cry was the hardest of the animations in this batch, Malley says, because the original attempts were too subtle. He was trying to do fast inhalations in the torso, but nobody could tell what was going on. In the end, he turned the dial all the way up to 11 and did an out-and-out bawling animation, complete with VFX tears. And here are the animations in the game. As you can see, we've gotten a bit further as compared to the videos I took last week, with placeholder icons for when Hearthlings should be talking about things, but the conversations are still missing their subject images, which has been one of the most unexpectedly complicated parts of the engineering and art effort so far. More on this next week. Finally, some of you have asked for updates on stuff we're working on outside of conversations, so for completeness' sake, let me mention some of the long-term projects we have going on in the background. Active work on building, performance, and AI, prototypes to work out overarching metagame design, fixing endless edge cases with water volumes, and high-level concept arts for future features. And that's it for this week. Let us know what you think here in the comments or in our forum at discourse.stonehearth.net. You can also find us on Twitch. A different member of our team streams their current projects and development every Thursday at 6 p.m. PST on our Twitch channel, www.twitch.tv/Stonehearth. See you next week!